subject, and my prayer is that the Lord will help us. Enhancing biblical family relationship. The verb is enhancing. The assumption is you already have those relationships. What I'm supposed to tell you is how to enhance. Because that's the assumption, enhancing it. Because it's there. And you need to ask yourself, do you actually have a relationship? Then we can talk about how to enhance it. But the other thing that is in this topic is that it has to be biblical relationship. A lot of people have relationship, but they are not biblical. And I want to ask you, for example, very basic question. Is your marriage a Christian marriage or a traditional marriage? Because the two marriages are totally different. In fact, recently the government of Kenya now split them all together. There's a Hindu marriage, a Christian marriage, an African marriage. You know the new act. And they tell you, if you marry the African one, your wife has agreed. She's only called number one. Because number two is coming. If number two doesn't come, it's a surprise. Because the only reason why you marry the African marriage is so that you have freedom.
An open check.
An open check. Now, and you'll find, so you have to ask yourself, is that the marriage you have? Because every marriage has its own conditions. In fact, the two marriages are so different, you have to tell me which one you have. And you are finding people who are Christians, but they still don't have Christian marriages. So it will be important that you ask yourself, as you talk about enhancing the relationship, are you having a biblical relationship? First thing is, do you have a relationship? Second one is, do you have a biblical relationship? Of course, the differences are big. For example, in an African relationship, the way to prove the relationship is real is dowry. If you have never given any dowry, that relationship is fake. In fact, this week, in Eldoret Court, did you read that one in the press? To the newspaper, where a mzee has taken the son-in-law to court because the dowry has not yet been paid. Did you read it?
Yeah.
The man is saying, and I'm not asking for much, only 13 cows. The boy is saying, I've been offering two, you say, I need 13. I'm unable to raise 13. And we are still waiting to see how the court case will end. Now, but you need to understand that you don't have a proper relationship if you have not paid dowry. Unfortunately, that is if you are having a traditional African relationship. And if you have an African relationship, it means number two, just to tell you. So the first thing is dowry. Number two, she is property. That's the African sense. In Kikuyu, we always said, when I got married in 1979, they said, John ni aragoranire. John bought a girl. That's a Kikuyu. In Kikuyu, we do niaragorana. Because you see, in Kikuyu, weddings were not a big issue. In fact, if you wanted to wed, you first of all did your dowry, then you did gurario, which is a ceremony where you shed blood to confirm the marriage. After that, the girl is still yours, but not yours. You have to wait one day when she's in the garden. Your boys go and pick her from the garden and run with her home. It was physical and violent. If her brothers were stronger than my brothers, the wedding didn't take off. It was a kidnap. A traditional kidnap. And that's the way of Kikuyu weddings. Wow. So that's what you need to understand.
Wow. That is exactly
so marriages
what happened used to happen in a homeland.
In Abaguzi. It was exactly the same.
They go, when they burst fire this place, the cattle are going this way, the reed is being taken on the other side.
By the time you discover the girl is already home.
It's already gone, and the cattle are
and then she cries for a week. Another cows come to help her to cry. Because it's quite traumatic.
Yes.
Now, so I'm trying to get you to understand. So we are talking about relationship, And the thing I want to emphasize is, are you having an African relationship or a biblical one? Because that's the topic I've been given. So dowry number 1. Number 2, which is what I'm trying for you to actually understand, is that the girl is property. If she goes back to her home, she will be returned to your house very quickly. Because traditionally it is very clear. The moment she settles there, the cows must come back. But by that time, the father has eaten them. So
so she must go back.
She must go back. That's why there were very few divorces. Because if you divorce, it is required that the man is. And I know that because in the 1950s, my father's sister, the last born, got married when I could see, 1958. Got married by a Mkamba. He actually became a Mkamba. My cousin can't speak in Kikuyu, the ones who got married in Wakama in 1958. I still remember it as a small boy in 1958. Do you know what he had done? There's a Kikuyu who wanted her, paid the dowry, then I don't know what she saw in this Mukamba, and she dumped the Kikuyu and went to the Mukamba. I was a small boy in primary school now, even after she was married about 1961, overhearing them discuss how much the other man had given, and now the new husband had to give it all, and my grandfather was not going to retain it. It was simply passing through his hand to the other person. So don't let people cheat you. You know, they try to say it was a joke. A lie. Dowry is not a joke. It's a purchase. Whether in Luoland, and I lived in Luoland for 3 years, once you have bought the girl, even in Luoland, she has very little choices. She is piece of property. If you beat her up, she cries, she'll be returned back to you. And she'll be told, you're a woman, understand. That's the work of men. You know, a friend of mine who is a missionary in one of the tribes in the north, told me how he has labored in the tribe, labored for a long time in the tribe, and people got saved until he was able to get people that could be leaders from that tribe. So he took leave one day. When he came back, people were telling him, our leader beat his wife very badly. He said, can you imagine an elder beating the wife? Now the whole village knows. So he called the elder and said, what is this I'm hearing? He said, who has told you? I have not beaten anybody's wife. Tell me, Pastor, this is a woman I paid dowry for, and I disciplined her. What wrong did I do? I mean, he is serious Christian. He is so committed to the Lord, he can never beat anybody's wife. He can only beat his wife. And it's not a wife, just a wife. I've already paid dowry. So you need to understand clearly, this relationship is not biblical. Because in a biblical relationship, dowry doesn't play a role. You need to understand, go through the whole of the New Testament. From Matthew to Revelation. There is a lot of talk on marriage. Nowhere do you hear of dowry.
Hallelujah.
Anywhere. And I should not be talking about that because I have a daughter, so I should be asking for money. the one that was with Paul in school. But I am clear in my mind. I have looked for the biblical basis for dowry. I can't find it anywhere. Because it was there in the Old Testament. Marriage was still continuing in the New Testament. We didn't see a single place where Paul says, and remember to pay your dowry. It's not there at all. And even in the Old Testament, people like quoting the Genesis story, Genesis 24, where Isaac married Rebecca. And people say, hey, he gave dowry. Please check. What is dowry? Dowry is not a gift. Dowry is something demanded by the father of the girl. It is not, if you go to your father-in-law and give him money, that's not dowry.
That's true.
Dowry is what he asked for, and it has to be counted in the presence of elders. Anything else you give will never count. That's a gift.
I know.
So you need to understand, in the case of Isaac and Rebecca, there was no dowry paid. You meet the girl at the well, and at the well, remember the miracle that happened? They go home, You're trying to talk to the man to settle. He said, no, I can't settle until you tell me whether my journey has been blessed. They asked the girl says it's okay. Once he is now sure Isaac has a wife,
Yes.
he goes outside, unloads the camels, gives them gifts. That's not a dowry. He gave after getting the girl, not in order to get the girl. So you need to know if your relationship is based on dowry, there's a problem. I'm not suggesting you don't give a gift to your father-in-law, but it's not a dowry. Christians don't pay dowry; they give gifts. Are we together? So that you can never tell your wife, I own you. No, it was you who gave a gift, and gifts are given freely, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you never bought me. So you lose the argument that you can do anything with your wife. You are just there as friends. So what is your relationship? Is it based on that? And I keep telling people now, if you read the Bible and come to, and you don't look my age, so it is so that you tell your father this. The dowry made sense traditionally. You know why? We were all labor. So a girl in her father's home was actually labor. She was supposed to cultivate, supposed to do things. Now, if you married her, she moved from her father's place to become labor in her husband's place. So the father of the boy had to pay for the lost labor, compensation. Because you see, from now onwards, like the mother of the boy has been going to the river.
Yes.
Because she only had boys. Now there is a girl to go to the river. Does she have any problem paying dowry? No. She is gaining a water carrier. So it has actually, it made sense that you cannot let a family lose their child and then you don't show any thankfulness. Some sense of compensation. Unfortunately today, Paul, the time you married that girl, she used to be in her father's place. She came to your home. But similarly, you used to be always in your mother's place. They also lost you. So both the father of Paul and your wife, both lost. Isn't that what happened? And I have children who are married. And the truth is, both the father of the boy and the father of the girl no longer has labor. So if I was to demand, as a father of the daughter, I have to demand money from the father of the boy, what is he gaining? Is he gaining anything? That my daughter does not go to him. My daughter goes to the boy, and they are not even living where I'm living. They are living somewhere else. They may be even in America. So exactly why would you expect the father of the boy to give you compensation when he is also a loser? Am I communicating? Yeah. And those are the things you need to deal with. However, traditionally, dowry is not just money. It is a religion. The religion of the African requires that for you to get blessings, you must bring, for example, johi, that is the alcohol in Kikuyu, and then when I drink it, I'm supposed to pour a bit of it on my chest. Then your marriage is blessed. Am I communicating? So the dowry is a source of blessing. So you need to understand. So if your relationship is based traditionally, then you certainly need. And you have gone to places for dowry negotiations, and people say you didn't come with something. How am I going to bless this family if you give me no alcohol? And you say, no, we are Christians. But if you are traditionally, you may call yourself a Christian. But if you are after a traditional blessing, then you must be ready to do what traditionally you require.
It's true.
So I thought I need to emphasize this word biblical. Biblical. You need to ask yourself, what is the basis of a relationship? Let me just go on this issue of relationship. Next, if you really are in a traditional marriage, your wife must remain a newcomer to the boy's family. Because you see, she has come. So she is not part of your family. She is only a newcomer. In Kikuyu we say, Modoaja, somebody from outside. She never becomes a... And it's you just wanted to understand how serious this relationship basis is. If you take it, do you know your wife has to be very careful never to quarrel with your mother? Because if they quarrel with your mother, who goes? There is no debate in our African religion. It's very clear. If you quarrel with the mother of the boy, you must. After all, you are Modoa. You are an outsider. That's understood. And even your own family will be telling you how terrible you are. How could you quarrel with your mother-in-law? Don't you know? Didn't you understand? How? It's a very critical thing to understand. Just so that I haven't started on the other side, but just so that I show you the difference. In a biblical marriage, again, it's absolutely clear how your mother and your wife relate. By the way, just to be fair, one of the most dangerous things is to separate your mother and your wife. Because they are the two most important women in the life of a man. But you agree? True. So just, if they're having quarrels, please accept my sympathy in advance. Yeah. It's a very serious issue. Because you don't want to side with your wife, don't want to side with the mother, and they demand you must side.
You need them both.
My friend, you are in real trouble. But you know, have you heard, in the African system, it's very clear what to do. She must go. Similarly, in the biblical system, it's also very clear what to do. It's based on on Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 to 25. For this reason, a man shall leave. You are not allowed to get wedded until you have left. So if your mother and your wife are quarreling, who is visiting? The mother visiting. Remember, the man left earlier. You are not in a Christian biblical relationship. You are not allowed to marry until the man has left. You don't marry a man in his mother's place. Yes. He must first of all leave. And it's the Bible. That's what the Bible says. A man must leave. Then you marry. So if they are quarreling, your mother must be visiting. So it's very clear who must go. Can you see how different our culture and Bible is? Yes. There is no debate. Once there is a quarrel between your wife and your mother, if she's a Christian, knows who must go. She also has a husband, yes. Go back to her husband. So if the two of you are not quarreling, it's the two women quarreling. One is the visitor. So the visitor must go. So that's why it is very critical. You gave me the topic of biblical relationships, it's very important to ask yourself, do you actually have biblical relationships? Because if you don't, there will be a very serious trouble in your marriage. And I'm discovering, the other day I was in a retreat in Karen with a group of Christians, couples. In the middle of the week, one of the ladies rang me and says, could we meet about what you were teaching us last weekend? I said, we can, but I would like you to come with your husband. Because normally when you talk to one side without the other side, you never quite help much. So she told me, I don't know whether you'll come. I said, persuade him. When he came and we talked, his question was simple. You taught us in the retreat about a biblical relationship. And you told us in a biblical relationship, a man leaves his mother and father, and the girl has already left anyway. So they are supposed to be separated. This girl of mine, this wife of mine, every time we have a quarrel at home, she rings Muranga. They were from Muranga. She rings Muranga and tells my mother, tell her to stop, to hear your sermon. So whereas she was coming to report him, it turns out it is him reporting. So I asked him, which is your marriage? Is it biblical or traditional? Already the wife has mentioned how he is interested in another woman. He said, yes, I'm intending to marry her. But that does not mean I'll reduce my love. I'll love her as much as I've always loved her, plus this other one. So I said, now, if you want biblical marriage, only one is allowed. So the moment you want to have another one, the biblical relationship is an exclusive union. Exclusive union. So exclusive means there cannot be a third party. It's only two. Are we together? So, if you are willing, or if you are willing to, you do not want her to talk to your mother, then you want a biblical marriage. But you want to marry another girl, so you want a traditional marriage. Make up your mind, young man. Which do you want? A biblical marriage or a traditional one? If you take a biblical marriage, she's not allowed to talk to your mother. If you take a traditional marriage, quarrels are settled by parents. So your wife is doing the right thing in a traditional marriage. You don't go to the lawyers. You go to your parents. Because they are part and parcel of the marriage. But in a Christian marriage, it's an exclusive marriage. So you need to make up your mind which of the two you are. But the man did not want to. He said, no, I want both. So it's not difficult. It is impossible. The moment you choose one, you lose
Another.
the other. You have to make up your you have to make up your mind which of the two you want. And I thought this issue of biblical relationship is something you have to make up your mind. You can't have both. You have to decide which of them you actually want. Now, who is having a Bible? I know they are now in your mobiles. But instead of reading mine, I would like you to read yours.
Mr. Nganga, I have a question.
Yes.
Now that you mentioned about the traditional...
Read Genesis chapter 2. We are reading from verse 18 to 25. Now, in the meanwhile, now you can ask the question.
Karen, I have bested a number of weddings, and I've had, especially during negotiations, some parts of the family of the lady talking about almost a transactional kind of engagement, in that we have educated this girl, taken her to university, a lot of money has gone to
You want
her.
Compensation.
So it sounds like compensation. I don't know what's your...
Not sounds like.
It is.
It's intended. Traditionally, it is intended to be compensation for the loss the family of the girl are losing. And they were actually losing. It was not academic, it was real. What I now don't understand, Paul, is the fact that now the father of the boy is also losing. So why is he supposed to compensate? So I would not take any father, and they are my age mates, who talks like that to have ever read the Bible. You cannot read the Bible and have a negotiation on your debtor like a piece of property. Not possible. Gifts, not big issue. Purchase, pricing, doesn't make sense. So to start saying, I educated her, but the father of the boy also educated
His boy.
his boy. And now your daughter is gaining out of that education. Shouldn't you compensate also? So it means the parents of the girl must also pay dowry. Because traditionally, the blouse. But now in this case, the boy is going to America. They are going to settle somewhere else. I'm not gaining. So why should you? So it's something you need to understand. Even if you see Christians doing it, it does not become Christian because Christians do it. Our source is not Christians, it's the Bible. And I've challenged you to show me from the New Testament any example where dowry is part of marriage. At all. But you know, a lot of you here are likely to say, hey, but it's dangerous. Why? Because inside many of us Christians, we are still in traditional religion.
That's true.
You believe that because you paid the dowry, your marriage is better blessed. Because your blessings don't come from God, they come from parents. My friend, you are looking to the wrong source. Your source needs to come from God. Because if you are blessed by God, nobody can curse you.
That's true.
Remember Balaam and Barak? He wants to curse, and the Lord said, he finally had to tell the king. Balaam had to tell the king, you know, you cannot curse that which God has blessed. You need to make sure your marriage is blessed from heaven, not from the earth. But let me, because you have provoked that discussion before we read the passage. Have you seen that in the 10 Commandments, one of the commandments that is very well written is the 5th commandment. Honor your father and your mother. Nothing I'm saying here should make you break that command. You must honor your father and mother. And giving dowry is not part of it. There are many ways you can help your parents without calling the money dowry. Not every time you take money to the wife or to the father of your wife, you are paying dowry. You can help him without calling it dowry. But let me make you understand. Ephesians chapter 5 talks about children, honor your fathers. Is that what it says?
Yes.
No. Obey. When you are a child, the issue is not honor. The issue is obey. The day you become an adult, it changes from obeying to honoring. You know the commandments apply to every age. So the word they use is not obey. The way the word they use is, when you become an adult, you can disobey your parent honorably. Your parents can tell you the kind of problem your children are having, let's go to see a witch doctor. But you trust in the Lord. Will you go to a witch doctor?
No.
You will disobey them, but you will say it in such a way they will feel honored. Disappointed that you want to die without the protection of a witch doctor, but they can see you respect them. Am I communicating?
Yes.
So, because the commandment is clear, you must honor them. But obedience, none. Let me give you the basis of my theology. In the Old Testament, the children of Israel, God decided to take them through the Red Sea, which was an impossible route. But then there was a shorter route to Canaan than through the Red Sea. But then God told them to go through the Red Sea. They reached there, the army is coming from the back, it's desert everywhere. They knew they are as good as dead. But God did such a miracle, they walked on dry ground. And 1998, I went for the first time to Port Sudan. Port Sudan is on the Red Sea. It's in Sudan, but it's the Mombasa of Sudan. And I looked at the sea, and I realized it's not a river. Sometimes in your mind you think it is a river that dried up. I stood on the shores of the Red Sea, and I cannot see the other side. There's no way you can see where. It is a proper sea. When it's called a sea, it's a sea. It dried up, and for the whole night, if you are going at 6 kilometers an hour for 12 hours, how many kilometers do you think the sea was?
Where?
Who knows mathematics? 72. That's the kind of journey. That's why you cannot see the other side. Because the whole night they were moving. It was so clear that the Israelites were the other side. Miriam began a song. You know the story, isn't it? Because they knew this is God. No human being could do it. Why didn't God take them through there? To build their faith. So that when they reach Canaan and they have to fight, they can trust the God of the Red Sea. God was so disappointed with them that after a few kilometers, they started complaining, talking about the watermelons in Egypt. And finally, they refused to, at Kadesh Barnea, they refused to go into Canaan, isn't it? God said, none of you who was an adult will go into Canaan, except Joshua and Caleb. Do you know something? Anybody who was over 20 died in the desert. If you are 19 years, 11 months, and 29 days, you went to Canaan. Because God used the age of 20 as the determinant of whether you are responsible or your parents are responsible. If you obeyed your parent by refusing to, because they have refused to go to Canaan, you also refused because they have told you, and you are 19 years, you are not punished. If you are 25 years, your parents told you not to go and you agreed, you died in the desert. God did not take the defense of obedience to parents to protect you. Am I communicating? Yes. And those are the things Africans don't want to talk about. That is scripture. That you have no defense obeying your parents with their traditions against biblical principles. Of course, they will curse you because of not obeying their issues. But then you understand that nobody can curse that which God has blessed. So if you are actually in God, in fact, my definition is this. If my mother blesses me, the only reason the blessing works is because it is God instructing her to bless me. The real source of my blessing is not my mother. It is God himself. If my mother blesses me and God has a quarrel with me, that blessing is totally useless. Because how can your mother bless that which God has already cast? So you have no protection by disobeying God in order to honor in order to obey your parents. Now, it is Paul who asked and he has gone. It was his question. But am I clear?
No.
So these relationships have to be clear. What kind of relationship are you having? Are you having a biblical relationship or a traditional relationship? Let's now, you are reading for me.
You want to come to the Kibulis? Huh?
No. It's okay. There is a shade. There is shade. So we can go talking. Oh, okay. So it is important to
Yes.
understand that these African traditions are very similar.
That's why I wanted to change it.
Yes, all these African traditions are very similar. Whether they are Kikuyu, or they are Kisi, or they are Luo, they are very similar. And in many ways, they are similar to the Old Testament, but we are not Old Testament believers. We are New Testament believers. So you cannot say because it was done in the Old Testament, you therefore will do it. You must, everything in the Old Testament must be checked against the New. And there are many things the New Testament upholds the Old Testament. So you can't say because in the Old you will stop doing it. But you need to be careful about things that you cannot verify from the New Testament.
Yes, sit around the table.
We'll just go on so that I still keep to the time that I was talking about. But to me, and that's not my topic today, that issue of tradition is something we have to really deal with ourselves. Because there's a big resurgence of people going back to traditions. And I'm talking about Christians going back to traditions. And so it's starting to be, you are starting to see Christians who hold traditions at equal level with the Bible. In fact, in vernacular, I've heard somebody saying that your parents are God. Your father is a second God. No. The word of God tells you to honor them, but it does not get you to where you can actually reach that level. So it's my hope and prayer that that will not happen. So my brother was reading for me.
Genesis 2:18-25.
Yeah.
And the Lord, from King James, the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him.
Let's stop there. Biblical relationships are a triangle with God at the center and the man and the woman at the base. You know, a triangle has 3 points, isn't it? So he is saying he's the one who came up with the relationship. A marriage relationship, you are not original with it. It's God who created us that way. And so God is in the apex, you are in the base, the three of you make a marriage. So a marriage, therefore, is not a decision between a girl and a boy. God is involved. And again, I don't want to take too much time, but I know sometimes you can't explain how you met your wife. Because sometimes you want to say you are good at choosing, but when you are choosing her, somebody else was choosing her. How did she not take the other one and took you? Now, if you check, there are so many complexities with it that only God starts marriage. Only God starts marriage. There are always complexities that ensure you can tell God. Mine, Rebecca, I was in final year finishing university. And I'm from Nyandarua, she's from Embu. We hardly were not going to meet ever. Then, just when we were just about to leave campus, Jomo Kenyatta issued a presidential decree. Because in our days, it used to be University of East Africa. So the only universities, Makerere, Dar es Salaam, and Nairobi. So you could be posted, when you did your A-level, you could be posted to any of the three. So me, I was sent to Nairobi, Rebecca was sent to Makerere. But we don't know each other. Just before I finished, Kenyatta issued a presidential decree that because of Idi Amin, all Kenyan students must be brought to Nairobi, and for where there are courses missing that are not done in Nairobi, because Makerere was another university, they must go, the government must pay for them anywhere in the world where the courses can be found. That's the way I met Rebecca. So I got Rebecca by presidential decree. In other words, if Jomo Kenyatta had not issued it, I don't know how even if he issued it a little later, I would have left the campus. I'm getting the point. That your marriage, even if you got married before you knew the Lord, is God who brings them together. It's very difficult to understand how people meet. And you just feel like you have a desire for each other. Am I communicating? Yeah. So that's what the verse is saying. Our relationship must understand it's not you and me. It's you and me and God. He is the one who has thought it through. And that has several implications. If the Lord is the one who has brought you together, then you don't have the choice to live when you want. Because if you recognize that God is the one who brought you together, then you'd have to seek his permission to go separate. Am I communicating? Because it's the idea. Now, if you discover that your husband is not who you thought he was, and now after 15 years you are feeling very frustrated, you have a problem. 15 years normally gets you to something called midlife. Because you get into your 40s. If you marry at 25, 15 gets you to 40. Once you have a 40, that's when you hear of something called midlife crisis. At that point, your children are teenagers, and your marriage is in teenage. And that's why there's so many complications. Because you are struggling with your teenage behavior, and the children are also. But several of the things that cause that problem? One of them is the realization. This woman, whenever she realizes you are not being what she wanted you to be, she easily forgives you. Because you can see, we are still in our 30s. The moment you hit your 40s, she said, let me admit, this guy is going nowhere and taking me along. And the moment that enters your heart, that your husband is going nowhere and taking you, can you see the frustration? That's what we call midlife crisis. The man looks at the wife. He has always thought, I will influence her, she will change. But she's still going night and day. You want to surely, I'm now 40. By the time we are 70, I'll be mad. Now you start asking the Lord, surely, can I stay with this woman for that long? So the same things you used to tolerate earlier, now you find it difficult? Tolerate. That's what we call midlife crisis. But the moment you understand, it was not your wife is not your choice. Your wife is God's choice. Then you start understanding that the same God who brought you together has the capacity to take you through midlife. Am I communicating? You do not trust in yourself. You start trusting in the God who brought you together. Please remember, Adam had a problem, but he did not understand what the problem is. It's God who realized it's not good for a man to be alone. So it's important. So I thought the basis, because we are discussing these basis of biblical relationship, the basis of biblical relationship is Godhead. The fact that you are relating under God. So you can be very disappointed with your spouse, but you stay. Why? If God wants me to go through this, I will. Because he never gives me a burden without the ability to carry it. Am I communicating? And I'm not suggesting your wife is a burden, but even if she was, He will give you the ability to carry the burden. So it's important to understand, and that's what people are losing. You do not understand that as soon as mundu kwa mundu, divorce comes very easily. Because you see, you can't tolerate somebody forever, can you? Only if the Lord is himself. If you can track with the Lord, give the issues to the Lord. It's Peter who says, cast your cares upon him because he cares for you. So if you haven't got God in your relationship, there always be reason. And by the way, the two of you don't have to quarrel at all. So do not assume marriages suffer because you are quarreling. It may be that you have seen a better marriage. They just visit, hey, these people love each other. You know, like now the way we have been introducing ourselves, there is problem tonight. You need to. You did not talk about me the way so and so talked about his wife. And it's not something you have done wrong. It is that somebody is looking on the other side. So you need to understand, problems in marriage, you don't have to do anything wrong. She just needs to see something there and think it is not here. She needs to see somebody, a better husband. I was saying, why can't my man be like him? Surely, you know, for an adult, the answer is easy. The reason why your husband is not like him is because he is not your husband. For him to be like your husband, he would have to be the husband. So that's really the emphasis of, is God who began marriage, is God who creates marriage, is God who brought you together. Even if you are not saved when you came together. That's the first and most important issue in biblical relationship. To understand, you do not choose that girl, you cannot unchoose her. Because it's the Lord who brought you together. Now read the next verse.
And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof.
Thank you. Second issue of relationship, that your wife is not property. You know, the income per capita of Adam was impossible. Because all the wealth divided by one. Isn't that the way you calculate per capita? Sure. The guy owned everything. But as he counted the animals, whatever, and whatever he wanted, they are his property. So that's why he called them, that became the name. You could not find. Just read the next verse.
20. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him.
Are you getting it? Property cannot help you. You know, part of the relationship challenges come from wealth. Your wife starts earning double your salary, and there is trouble in the marriage. Somehow, it becomes very difficult. Very, very difficult. I know, by the way, Bogo, I'm using Bogo because we know each other with Bogo. Yes. And now, if a man starts earning a lot of money, because of our cultural background, it doesn't seem to affect the marriage. But the moment the wife is the one who is earning more, there is trouble. Why? Because what he has read is not understood. That there is no way, this relationship is not based on property. The guy had enough. The wife was, he did not require extra property. Because he already had the per capita that would ever require. He wanted a helpmate. And none of the properties qualified. So it's a very critical thing to understand in your relationship. Your wife is not property. I've written a book, maybe Paul should make it available. I've written a book called Finding a Life Partner. I gave the title Finding so the young people can agree to read it, but it's a book about marriage. Because if you call it marriage, the young people refuse to read it. But for you, you're already married, so I know you can agree to read. So I would like you to pick the book. But and as I'm talking about marriage, I say there is a chapter on why marry. And I give a series of reasons, bad reasons for marriage, And then I gave several reasons, biblical reasons for marriage. A lot of people have suffered at home. Then they saw a young man who looked like they had a promise. Then they married him. In the back of their mind, they were marrying out of poverty. So she is not after her husband. She is after what the husband owns. If 5 years later the guy is moving nowhere, the marriage will be in trouble. Because I was not after you. I was marrying a bank. Now you have turned to be a beggar. Am I communicating? So you need to understand that, and that's why I'm right. You need to ask yourself, why did I marry this man? If you find a reason, that reason will be the end of your marriage. The only reason you marry your man is because God has brought you together. You know, earlier, it was easily understood that men were providers. But these days, that issue is a big challenge. Why? You finish university at the same time. I get employed in Shell, and you get employed in Care. It depends on how fast Care is growing compared with Shell. And it's not that he's a hard worker. No, it's simply where God has located her. Am I communicating? So that thing, I don't know how we shall remove it. Because even your children are growing with the same feeling. Because many of us men want to give a picture of wealth. Make your children think. So everybody grows thinking men are the source of wealth. Now, when your daughter marries, she also marries thinking she is bearing wealth. We are appropriating something that was not originally there. So you need to ask yourself, do you have a good reason for your marriage? Why did you marry? Of course, others married a girl because she was figure 8. And to be seen next to her made you very proud. You just wondered, if that girl can walk with me, hey, everyone will be very happy. But she's figure 8 as a girl. After 3 children, she'll become a drum. Now you need to understand clearly. And there's nothing wrong.
Becoming a drum.
Yeah, because that's what it means to get children. Am I right? So why you are the one who is part of the cause? How can you start getting disappointed? Hey, some people even tell their wives, you have 20 kilos, I never married. Because you did not get into a biblical marriage. You are marrying a figure 8. Am I communicating? Yes. So a lot of problems is the basis of your relationship. Who are you marrying? And if you don't sort it out, it may not have affected your marriage yet. It will affect it very soon. And that's why you have to be grateful for whoever the committee that was setting up this topic. You want biblical relationship. Biblical relationship. And biblical relationships are not based on property. So it's not on how much money you paid for her. No. And I'm not suggesting you don't give your father-in-law money. I think I've said that severally. I'm only saying don't buy your wife. And don't give before the wedding. Give all the days of your father. You must respect your father-in-law, and you must help them until they die. Or until you die, if you die early. Now, it's important to understand, I'm not talking about helping. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying the concept of property, wife as a property, must be removed. Because God clearly saw that that was not going to be the basis of relationship. Now read the next.
And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man.
I just wanted to emphasize, and I've already referred to it, that basically the choice was not made by Adam. He woke up and found a woman. She did not make a choice as to how it was going to be done. In fact, the guy was put total sleep. It's the first operation, and I don't know what the anesthesia was. He was totally gone. He only woke up to find there was a woman. And I think that I have already emphasized that quite a bit, so I'll not spend time on it. Just go to the next.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife.
So the first thing is, therefore, the basis of any biblical relationship will be a man leaving his father and mother. That does not mean that the woman will not leave. But because even in Jewish tradition, is the man who would stay with his relatives. The message was emphasized not on the woman but on the man. But even the woman must also leave. We are saying there is no biblical marriage relationship if you have not left. And many of what we call in-law problems are not in-law problems. It's a problem of a man who has refused to leave. It's a problem of a woman who has refused to leave. Once you leave, both parties will respect you. But if they think you have their ear, what is the man doing to you? So you have to keep telling your mother what's happening. You are still there, isn't it? Because although you are physically, you have moved, your telephone connects you. You know, the other day we were counseling a couple, and the wife told us she has to admit she talks to her mother at least twice a day. You know, these are modern people. The wife has a phone as well. So every morning says, "Hey, Murairi, how have you slept in the afternoon?" And now, if you know, you can't talk like that without finally talking about how your husband annoyed you. That level of communication, finally the man feels, I never married one woman. I married two. An old one. Because basically you are struggling both. You agree something with your wife, the following night you are disagreed. See what happened? I talked with my mother. Now you realize you have to deal with, it's even better you ignore your wife. Now start talking to her mother. But the word of God is saying, in a biblical relationship, your parents must be left. That doesn't mean they cannot be visited. But you must allow that. In fact, in my own understanding of living, it has to be physical. You cannot marry, and the gate to your mother's place is the gate to you. Even if you are building next to each other, put a fence in between. So that when the visitors are coming, they can decide whether they are coming to the daughter-in-law, or to the mother-in-law. Am I communicating? Because the word is leave. It must be clear you have left. But you know what they like? They like you building behind. They like you building behind. So that whoever is visiting must first of all greet the mother before going to the... It will interfere with your marriage. And you keep wondering, why are you quarreling? You are quarreling because the visitor passed through your mother-in-law. So it has to be physical living. Number two, it has to be social living. It's Kuhama. It has to be social living. What does social living mean? It means you are no longer seen as a part of your parents' marriage. You are seen as separate. If you are a man, people know that you are making your own decisions. They cannot blame your father for your decisions. Because socially you have become... That's why it is dangerous to marry very young. Because if you can be so young, the society refuses to recognize your marriage. It has to be social living. And that one, you may not disagree with me, but in our culture, the name is a part of it. If you are still called a different name from your husband, that people have to do a research to find out that you're related. You know, one of my village names is Dongo. Can you imagine if my wife decided to be Mrs. Dongo? Paul knows me from Focus, but also knows the teacher from Desta. But that's Mrs. Dongo and I'm Mr. Nganga. Can you associate us?
No.
Now people are deliberately doing it, and some of them are seated here. It's very important, very important to understand. You are refusing to live. You are refusing to live because it means your destinies should be seen together. You have left the older destiny. You are creating a new destiny. So that if your husband has a problem, you should be associated with that problem. If your wife has a problem, you should agree to be associated with that problem. But when you retain Dongo, whatever quarrels Rebecca is having in Desta, they can never affect me. Because we are not seen as together. So the word of God is saying in a biblical relationship, you must be seen as one. You must be seen as one. And so socially, you must move. Thirdly, you must move financially. Let me just finish this, then you I hope you write it down the question so that you don't forget. Just write it down. Thirdly, it must be financial living. You cannot marry a girl to be financed by your father. Your father may be rich, but you need, by the time you marry, you need your own source of income. If you are working in your father's place, you need a salary, which can allow you to operate separate. If you are getting pocket money from your father, then your wife buys a good dress. You ask, you are wasting my money. What kind of dress do your wife buy? So he gets involved. So you'd rather be in a home where you are having only 2 plates, and when visitors come, you eat in round 1 and round 2, rather than continue being financially tied to your parents. Money. Have you ever heard the saying, whoever pays the piper calls the tune? Am I communicating? So you see, you have not left. Even if you are physically, they are in Kinakop, that's where I come from, and you are in Nairobi, if they are the ones financing, they will be felt in your bedroom. And it's something. So this biblical relationship, it must be clear you are old enough to become economically independent of your parents. And that does not mean they cannot give you money. It's only they cannot support you regularly. Am I communicating? And they will want to give you money. It is your responsibility to refuse it. You are happy to struggle together and raise the money together, rather than to work in the business. So financial, you must get financial independence. And I think that will be now is your time to ask.
I was going to ask about the social living, about
Yeah.
the name you said. Some of us still retain our father's names. Yeah? So what happens in this case? I'm socially known wherever by my name, the names I kept when I was a girl.
I'm talking about people like you.
So what do I do? I touch it.
Yeah, but it's very simple. It's you just go swear an affidavit to the Attorney General, and the name is changed.
Then you keep changing
And
the
the
documents.
Yeah, by the way, not cheap. Oh, you are not the first people. By the time you marry, your wife has all certificates, isn't it?
Yes.
And they all, you are the first generation that's having problem with it. By the time we got married, Rebecca was Chandi, and she says the name was one more beautiful than Nganga. So it was the question, because he says it was a C, and there are very few names in Kenya with a C. Therefore, whenever she went and they are following numbers, like during elections, a C was helping her. So by becoming Nganga, it was terrible. But you don't have an alternative. You want to be associated with the bad Nganga of that person. Are we together? Yes. And there is legally no problem, because all you do is you go with your birth certificate, which is having the old name, and the marriage certificate that is having the new name. In the marriage certificate, they always list your maiden names. Are we together? So once you have your marriage certificate, all your certificates become legal. It's easy. But you must have a copy of your marriage certificate to show that the one with those names is the one with the new names. So there's no problem.
So do I take his name or his father's name?
But surely, I know we have become entering into the normal. Do you know his name?
Yes, I do.
His name, he doesn't have a father's name. If you know the father, ask him, what is his name in the ID? So you don't ask, but you don't have to ask him, just check. What is in the ID? Whatever name he is called, Mr. Who, you become Mrs. That name. If he should not tell you to be called another name which he doesn't like himself. Because it's not that your name is bad.
Of course.
So, since you like your name, if he doesn't like his name, and he has to choose another name, the one he has chosen becomes
my name.
Your name. Because what you are after is not a paper. You're after association. Identity.
Lost.
So you cannot be called some village name, which he himself does not like. Because there is no requirement in Kenya for him to be called by his father's name. Not at all. And especially Kikuyus, I don't know about the other tribes, we always have more than one name. You know, you have you are named after your grandfather, and he had a name. Then he had a nickname. I can give you 5 names that are my name. That's why if you look at my books, I normally write John N. Nganga. Because when I discovered there are many John Ngangas, I took Dongo. Then I thought there are few many Dongos. I took Jogona. They are all my name. Because my grandfather was called Jogona, but he was circumcised in the age group of Motongo, where there was smallpox. Motongo, when they didn't like being called Motongo, because it means you are being called smallpox. So they turned the name Motongo to Dongo. So that's why it is Dongo. So if this man wanted 5 names, minus his father, he has all of them. He can go back and give you. But he may also like his father's name. If he likes it, you should also like it. He should not tell you to go picking another name. Because all he needs is to again go to the ID people, change the name from his father's name and make his father's name an earlier name in the list. And make his last name the name he actually likes. Anyway, but that's not our topic just now. Let's not go there because it's not a major issue. All I'm after is you must be associated with the person you have married. Are we together? That and I leave you to make that decision on your own. But I've provoked you enough to spend a bit of time discussing it. Because what I'm after is this idea. You know, for example, if you have called a strange name, very easy to divorce you. Because after all, nobody will even know that you divorced. They never knew you were married, they'll not know you divorced either. because you see the 2 names are not related.
Actually, that's very important.
Yeah.
Because it helps my wife to defend his right in that family.
Yes.
It helps a lot.
So there are many benefits.
God forbid. When I leave, I go to heaven.
Yes.
She will suffer a lot if she has not changed
her
name to my name. Brother-in-law comes here and says, now, you don't belong to this family.
Yeah, and he says, no, I belong. Says, give us your ID.
Document. Where is it?
But the document is the marriage certificate. Marriage certificate. Right.
But even the marriage certificate may be the marriage certificate may be debated. If the marriage certificate name, but anyway, let's not spend too much time on it.
It's okay. We have witnessed that situation.
Yeah.
Whereby there is no link between my wife and myself, and it becomes a big problem.
And then the question is, why do you want that problem? Except, I asked, my wife asked another couple that question. They said, I want my own identity. This is a Christian woman saying she wants her own identity. Soon after that, she rang me to tell me she's leaving the husband. So when you are so serious about your identity, please don't get married. But for you, it's too late. You're already married. But please talk to young people. If you love your identity, don't get married. Marriage makes you lose your identity. Whether you're a man or a woman.
Or even the man loses, eh?
Yes.
Thank you.
No.
He loses. You know why?
No.
You know why? Let me just tell you how the man loses. If you are doing some crooked things, and you already have one name, who you think you'll not be embarrassed? You can soil his name if you share a name.
It is true.
He also loses his identity. Anyway, but I do not want us to take.
It's not a question.
Yes.
If you allow me, I'll take a very short time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add my voice to some 2 perspectives.
Yeah.
I agree with you in the spirit of
Oneness.
Oneness, and that you have to be seen to be one.
Yeah.
And functionally, you have to be one. But you raise 2 very important issues. One is of a legal nature, the other is social. And I'd just like to spend 2 minutes to make a couple of clarifications on the legal one. There's usually a feeling, and I think it's a big mistake, that later on leaves couples in a lot of problems when one passes on. That it is enough to have an additional name in the marriage certificate, and therefore that cures
all the other problems.
All the other
legal problems.
Legal problems. what I'd like to say is the function of a marriage certificate is to certify that legally you joined as husband and wife, and that you are identified as such in that marriage certificate. And it is a legal requirement that in the marriage certificate, where you indicate your name, they must be indicated as they appear in the ID for the man, and for the woman as they appear in the ID. So you're limited in any interest you may have in adding an additional name at that point. So that's the first thing. The marriage certificate then cannot be used to change your passport or ID and so on and so forth. So what you'd have to do is prepare a deed poll, and lawyers do that. And in that deed poll you make a declaration that you wish to no longer be identified as so-and-so. You will retain that name, but in addition to that, that you're going to take X name, which is ordinarily your husband's name or your wife's name. It's not only
whichever way.
The wife who have to take the name from the... Yeah. You can also take your wife's name. And say...
She's not saying you take your wife's name, saying you can take any name.
You can take any name.
Yeah.
And
the two of you will agree.
Yeah. And there are many men who've taken their wives' names. And they live very happily. And having done that, it is then gazetted. It takes about 3 months, and if no one raises any issue,
the name is official.
You are allowed. The deed poll is certified. You carry it to the register of persons and to the authorities that would issue you with a new ID, and your new ID then reflects all the names. The basis of that ID then...
Let me just stop you so that I can go on.
Yeah.
In my wife's case, unless things have changed, you come with your ID, you come with a marriage certificate, and you say you now want to be called by your husband's name. There was no requirement of any nature beyond that.
Which is okay for purposes of identification. But
in other words, her ID reads the new name, but she never needed to do any deed or...
Now you have to do a deed poll.
Then it's a new thing.
Now you have to do a deed poll. You can still do an affidavit, but affidavit would be limited.
She never even wrote an affidavit.
It would just be...
It was automatic. If you produce a marriage certificate, that's all you require to get a new ID. So something must have happened.
It's different now. So I just wanted to...
Then something has changed the law. However, it doesn't change the principles I was giving.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why I want us to leave that point that time, because we are not supposed... We are taking the discussion time. I'm supposed to finish at 1. And it is not far from where. So what's the time now?
11 minutes.
It's 11 minutes to 1.
Yeah, but so Paul, if I don't have a discussion, because the discussion came earlier, and it's not bad because we actually had agreed with Paul. We need to allow a lot of discussion, so it's not really bad. Just read the next. So I hope you have emphasized that issue, that you need when you talk about a man shall live, it means socially. So it means financially, it means physically, but on socially, it may mean you have to dump all previous relationships that could be mistaken. Oh, did you marry so and so? No, the boy was your boyfriend. No, it needs to be clear you have left that relationship. There are people who marry and continue those exes. Have you heard of that? You need for a man to say a man shall leave, you must leave them. But you don't just leave the boyfriend, ex-boyfriends, even ex-girlfriends. My recommendation is, if anybody was negative about the boyfriend, and you went and told you it's a terrible mistake you are making to marry that boy, if you continue relating with them, you are an enemy to your own marriage. Because every time you meet, they'll ask you, I told you you will be in trouble. So, and then you are being asked that question when he has just annoyed you. He said, yeah, you are right. He just annoyed me this morning. And that will kill your marriage. Are we together? So when you are talking about living, the most powerful relationship is your parents. But the other relationship, you also need to live. For the sake of your own marriage. And as you need to ask yourself, what are those relationships? Have you left them? Some are very difficult. Because these are your own dear friends, but you know they don't respect your husband. you have to leave them. Because it's a very clear choice. Once you marry your husband, you're not allowed to leave him. But the other people you can leave. So you need to ask yourself, are there relationships? Remember, we are talking about biblical relationships. You cannot continue with those relationships. Anyway, you are reading for me.
Oh, verse...
For that reason, a man shall leave, and the next thing you read, you already read it, but repeat it.
And cleave, and there shall be one flesh.
Yeah, and the next exercise in a biblical relationship is cleaving. Cleaving. You know, you can leave and forget to cleave. You abandoned your parents, but you're not attached to your husband. So, you know, the Bible says what it means and means what it says. So it has already told you to leave, but it hasn't stopped there. You must cleave. It's called courtship in marriage. It's instructed. A biblical relationship involves courtship. You know, it's very interesting. When you are single and you have no money, you still could afford to take your wife for a Ramadazi. Now you are richer, but you can't take her even for a Ramadazi. Somehow, with the children coming, courtship dies. And after all, what are you quoting? She's already yours. Now, you need to understand, the Bible is clear. The Bible is saying after you leave, you must cleave. So you need to ask yourself, in the last 3 months, what have you done to court your husband? What are you doing that is making the relationship better? Don't buy her flowers if she doesn't like flowers. Just because you saw who gave flowers. Yes, because that one knows the wife will be happy with the flowers. You also throw them out. Yes. So find out, because it's not, the subject is not you. Courtship is not about you. Courtship is about him or her. So if you want to court somebody, you do what pleases them. Not pleases you. For you, maybe flowers.
I did it that way. I'm rebelling her.
Yes.
That's why I did it, so that it clings.
Yes. Yeah. So if she likes flowers, that's okay. If she doesn't like flowers, then don't bother with the flowers. If all she wants is a dress, buy her a dress. Okay, yeah, somebody has added. Now, but it's important. So what I'm saying is, and I don't have enough time to say it, we have run out of time. Courtship is a biblical requirement in enhancing relationship. You have to find a way of, and sometimes you have no money. Rebecca and I sometimes just walk. There's a place in Lavington where if we walk one round, it's about 440 meters. If we do 10, you have done 4.5 kilometers. We do 12 normally. When we do many, we do 12. That's about almost 6 kilometers. And there's nothing to pay. You know, the first 2 rounds you are quiet, but the third one you start talking. So we are talking about courtship. It's not the property issue. It's giving each other time. The us time. That means you have to remove your children out of it. Yes, true. They are not part of the relationship. It's a very important thing to understand that. The children are not part of your marriage. They are visitors. Okay, long-term visitors, but they are never part of your marriage. Yeah. You know, if you come to our house, now you have no idea whether we ever had children. People normally look in the wall to see whether we ever had children. Our last born finished here is 07. The last person we had finished university 10 years ago. So now you have no idea. It's just we woke up in the morning, you just the two of you. Yes. Children, you know, like if you marry at 25, Bobo, and you buy at 85, your marriage will be 60 years. Am I right? Only 20 of those will there be children. 40, they are not. Am I confusing you? Children are not part of your marriage. So when you get babies and you concentrate on the babies, by the time they disappear, your wife has forgotten how to talk to you. And you have another 40 years of struggle. Or because you spent time badly. I'm not asking you to abandon your children, but I'm saying to keep remembering. They are not part of your marriage. So you have to, if you can leave them to go to work, leave them once in a while. On a Saturday, just to be with your wife. Let them cry a little more. They will not die out of crying. So it's important to ask yourself, are you actually investing in that relationship? And don't say, let the children grow bigger. You see, once he is conditioned to not need you, It will be very difficult to read you after they are big. Am I communicating? She'll have her own way. She'll find her own way of survival. Then you now come, I'm coming, I'm here. What? I'm okay myself. You stay there. So it's important to accurately understand this issue of cleaving. And you know, we've been married that 8 years, we still have to work on it. Because sometimes you thought that after that 8 years, now you are automatic. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You see, I keep saying, friendship has 3 problems. Number 1 is voluntary. You cannot force her to be your friend. She is your friend voluntarily. And that's what makes it difficult. Because if I could force her, to make it very easy. But you can force her to be your wife, trick her, whatever, but your friendship is voluntary. Number 2, that friendship is not permanent. It's voluntary and not permanent. You are friends today, there is no guarantee of that friendship tomorrow. The fact that you had such a wonderful courtship before marriage tells us absolutely nothing about your condition now. The fact that last year you took her to Seychelles has nothing to do with how you are now. Friendship is not permanent. You have to work it on a daily basis. And yesterday's position will not help you today. Thirdly, which is very important, is to understand it's not automatic. It's not automatic. You know, your son is your son. You can even prove it with the DNA. But your wife, unfortunately, the only way is quoting her. So anyway, I'm running out of time. Let's read the last item.
Very serious, this one. And they were both naked.
No, just before then. After cleaving.
And shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
Yeah. So, in a biblical relationship, you must become one flesh. And again, there are 4 ways of becoming one. 4 different ways. The one people are used to is the one in the bedroom. You cannot claim to be married and you are physically not having sex. The 2 shall become one flesh. Literally means they'll be having sex. So, for you to be claiming you are married and you're having to say, did you buy the dress? No, not tonight, until you buy the dress. Now, you have a problem. There is a problem. That's not a biblical marriage. That's not a biblical marriage. All you need to qualify is to be married.
Yes.
But it's a much wider subject. Maybe Paul will organize for when it's a subject on its own. But for the 2 shall become one, means you'll be physically one. Number 2, you'll be socially one. And I've spent quite a bit of time talking about social oneness. I said a name makes us suspect. You know, like you go to a place and Rebecca is asked, might you be related to John Nganga? Because she has talked, I've talked, and they start wondering whether we are related. So you need to understand oneness. The name helps you. But social oneness also means you must be willing to be seen together. When you come to church, he sees one corner, another corner. And when you are changing the keys, why are you taking somebody else's keys? The 2 are not being seen as one. And it will be important to understand you must have, unfortunately, in many marriages, which is my next point, we are a federation, Majibo. Many marriages are federal, not unitary. You see, to be federal means, like now the US is a federal government. Every state is totally on its own. In fact, they normally say California is the 5th largest economy in the world on its own. Because there's an economy. Every state has its own government, its own parliament, its own everything. They only share in 2 areas: foreign affairs and defense. No state has Minister of Foreign Affairs. No state has. Yeah. And many marriages are exactly like that. They are totally independent except on foreign affairs and defense. If you touch the wife, the guy will change your dental formula. That is defense. The same way, when they walk to church, they walk hand in foreign affairs. The rest of the thing, they are running totally different economy. So when you talk about they shall be one, their economies must be one. So if you are having different finances, you are not having a biblical marriage. You know, you start hearing the wife is rich, the husband is poor. That's not a biblical marriage. In a biblical marriage, it's like communism. You produce according to your ability, you use according to your need. In other words, if the wife is bringing more money, it's welcome. If the husband is bringing more money, no welcome, because it's going to the same pot. When you start using, you don't use according to who gave. It's what according to the needs. If the wife's dress is more expensive than yours, just say, but your salary is less. No. No. Oneness means the money is one. You produce according to your ability, you use according to the need. That's why you cannot call yourself a biblical marriage and you don't budget together. Let me tell you what they do in federal governments. They say, it's your responsibility to pay for school fees. It will be mine to buy the food. That's not oneness. Because what happens? In inflation, for school fees rises. The one for food does not rise. So I'm saying, surely, now you need to help me. Now, the wife suggests, let's take our children to a better school. I know why you are saying that, because it's not your money. You stay 3 days without meat. The husband says, no, I cannot live in a house where we don't eat meat. Says, I know why you are saying it. It's because it's not your money. Now, it needs to be understood you don't have a biblical marriage. You know, the moment the money is together, the husband will be the first to suggest, can we take less meat? Because now his money is involved. So you need to understand the two shall become one. Is actually meaning the economies will be one. Unfortunately, my time is up. The last one she read was, they were both naked and felt no shame. In a biblical relationship, nobody keeps a secret. They are naked and feel no shame. If you cannot be naked before your wife, who can you be naked before? The word of God expects you to be naked. And naked doesn't mean just naked in the body. Naked in the head, naked in the heart, being open. I wish we had enough time. But let me allow 2-3 questions. But can you see that I started with the traditional marriage? Can you see how different they are? They are so totally different. I'm like, oh, African. You know, you hear people say, I'm an African Christian. There's nothing like that. The day you become a Christian, African goes out of the window. That's why we say we are Christian Africans, not African Christians. Because we have totally surrendered our culture to God. That doesn't mean we will not do some of our cultural things, but we will only do the cultural things that are in line with the Bible. Anything else may be loved by our parents. They may even want to curse us if we don't obey them, but we are willing to be cursed rather than break God's word. So our relationship are biblically based. Anyway, let me allow you to. It doesn't have to be a question, it can be a comment. Is there something I have said and it has blessed you? Is there something I have said and I have confused you? Don't allow me to go before I confuse you. So ask the question that I can clarify.
Thank you. Actually, I wasn't able to finish what I was saying earlier. I talked about the legal perspective. And I want to insist again that I agree with you absolutely in being one and function, spirit, and in every sense, as long as you're in marriage. Now, in respect of the names, my wife and I have not formally changed the names, okay? But it has not affected the manner in which we relate. So I agree that the name makes it very easy
for people to associate you
as one. However, what I wanted to say, which I think is even more important, is that a couple appreciates the purpose of being one, rather than have it superficially the function of a name that relates the two of you.
They are federal.
So that it doesn't have to be formal, but as long as the manner in which you function and relate is in the spirit of one, it wouldn't matter so much, at least as I see it, that she must bear my last name or that I must bear her last name. And the last comment I wanted to make is there's absolutely nothing wrong with a man taking the woman's name.
That you told us earlier.
And I've seen it happen with...
Some of us do not agree with this, but you told us earlier. So leave it there. Don't do another call.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And some of those couples are very happily married. And I've seen and I've learned quite a lot from them as well. And I'm happy you've talked about a lot of those things. I've seen it demonstrated in their marriage, which I think is a very good example. So it's a social issue, it's a cultural issue. We may come from certain places where it's not culturally acceptable to take your wife's name, because then you become a social status. But in other cultures, it's absolutely normal. But again, where the world is going now, it's beginning not to matter which cultural setting you come from. I see people now...
I like the word you have used, beginning. It hasn't become. You know,
Thank you.
I just finished reading Wangari Maathai's biography. You know the major cause of their divorce? Name. Yes. You know the husband is being quarreled. How come did you really marry her? And not because she's more educated, she has a PhD, the husband doesn't have. Become such a pressure. One day she just came home and Mwangi had just left. Just packed a little, whatever you could, a little and put in the car and disappeared. That was the end of the marriage. So I would like to agree with you, because all the things you said were right. The quality is more important than the quantity. But unfortunately, you normally need both. The fact that your wife cooks chapatis on Sundays, you can't say because she's cooking quality, the rest of the week you don't eat. So there is a place where you are totally right. But unfortunately, if the truth is people don't see you as one, because she introduces herself totally different from the way, and unfortunately people don't ask you questions. They form their own opinion. You need a very good reason why you are not changing the name. And there may be very good reasons. But until you have those reasons, do the easier one. You know, this idea of quantity and quality, you don't know the reason I say it. You can't have one without the other. So you don't need, it's not a question of either or. You need the name, but you also need the details. Now, but I agree with you, the details of how you are living your life are very critical. But then you have to ask yourself, you know, like I normally ask people, do you know there are people who have never confessed Jesus as their Lord and Savior, but their lives are very Christian? Have you met them? Mm-hmm. And I say, why are you not getting saved? You don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't run after people's daughters, you are just a good guy. Why are you not getting saved? Do you know when they finally get saved, they tell you the reason? There is always a reason why the quality is okay, but the quantity is not. There is always a reason why you are living with a total oneness, but you don't want your names to be associated. Maybe there's something you stole at one time, and you don't want your wife to get associated with it. There is a reason. So that reason is what will kill your marriage. Whatever that reason is, despite the fact that but let's not spend a lot of time. It's not a question of
to do with that, and I think it's a pertinent one.
Now, and by the way, you have done well. You have made people think. They will make decisions after they leave here. But can we change subject? Is there some another area?
This one is very important.
No, but you have already spent so much time on it, and the other issues also.
It's important for me, may I ask?
No, not the two of us. I want us to deal with it. You and me. I hope you agree to become my friend, so that we can continue. Let's start with you. I'm assuming you are changing the subject to something else.
I hope so. My question is, I don't know if it's a comment or a question. As when people, you are listening too much, when people get married, they are so naked in that aspect of verse 25.
Yeah.
But as time moves on, I've done my own study. The man realizes this woman is too naked. I've been too naked to this woman. And because of that, she may use some aspects of this nakedness against me. Like, yesterday you did not do this and you have money. What? You know, those kind of things. Or other things even. And because of that, they tend to. I've done a study of people who have, older men who have died, and they have died with undeclared property. And actually, I've told my students these things. And that happens, it so happens that the family does not benefit because of these things. What would happen in such a situation where, okay, or maybe you would help as women. You don't. Most of these men are married to super women who want to
achieve.
Yeah, and to follow up every detail. You know, like we behave like mothers to these men, and you want you want to follow every detail and be sure that he invests wisely.
Yeah.
You know, he spends wisely, and you know, not everything to do with money, or he takes care of everything wisely.
Yeah.
And maybe we want that nakedness, but we are not getting it because of being super women. You understand?
You are blaming yourself.
I'm getting it. But
no, but I'm understanding you.
That is what I want.
You are looking for a reason.
Yes.
As to why do men who are so naked when they were courting,
all of a sudden,
they are becoming opaque. They are becoming opaque with the time. You can't see through them. I don't think I have a straight answer so that your suggestion might be right. But part of it. Oh, you want to add to the question?
So
make it more complicated. Okay. So I don't answer the simple one.
Yes. So basically, just to add what she's saying, like I had a colleague sometime back at the office, and she was stranded because she was looking for school fees. So what she's saying is property she wants to dispose to get money
for school fees.
Now I knew if I talked to my wife about this, she would refuse. So I said, let me go ahead and just buy the property. Yeah.
Are you talking about a case or yourself?
Life experience.
Oh, so okay. That's now you are being naked.
I'm being naked.
We are calling it kuenda na mwangaza. Yeah. Walking in the light.
Yes. So somebody was in a fix, wanted school fees.
You bought the land and helped her.
Yes, I bought the land and helped her. But I realized that if I tell my wife, before buying the land, I said, if I tell my wife about this land, most likely she won't accept. Because what I did, I went ahead and bought the land.
Then came to confess you later.
No, I kept the title in the house somewhere.
You even waited until the title was changed?
No.
It came out in the new name?
No. Still the old title, the old name.
Yes.
I kept the title in the house. Hoping that one day, that one day I would now tell her, by the way.
When she's in a good mood.
Yes. Something happened, and I bought property because somebody was in a fix, but this is it. And I want us to
change that title now.
She discovered the title before I could tell her.
That's what I fear. That's normally what happens.
So what happened? So I had to explain what happened, and she wasn't very happy about it. But that is the feeling I had.
And you knew she would not be happy.
Yes. But right now we have property. It's in the house. Now she's smiling because it is there.
So you want me to answer that question, taking care of that also?
Yes, because you have to
the same question.
Everything.
Okay. Let me say.
Yes, sir. I don't know.
Let's agree. Yes, your problem is threefold. Number one, you took a risk. She could easily divorce you. Because she asks, if a big matter like a title, I cannot be told. How many dogos are you actually? It just triggers the idea of this guy cannot be trusted. And marriage, the currency of marriage is trust. So you are taking such a risk and you're not conscious. You are thinking only of the land. Thank God you have such a Christian wife.
Amen.
Well, the credit is not yours. The credit is she got annoyed and forgave you. After all, the Bible says you forgive.
That's right.
So she's a Christian woman. Second problem, in between, if Christ came, will you be going to heaven? So you're not dealing, you don't know your wife. Deal with God.
Amen.
You cannot lie on your way to heaven. You see, your lie was worse. You see, the lie of telling with the mouth is very easy because you can do it emotionally. The one that is planned is a far much bigger lie. The one of saying, you have even calculated where to put the title, how to, surely. You are doing that in the presence of God. Your wife doesn't know, but God knows. You are a professional liar. So you need to understand you are dealing with God. I'll go to the question later. I told you three things that are a problem with it, and you don't have to agree with me. You just wanted my opinion. Yes. So that's the second reason why it's dangerous to lie. Thirdly, you could die in between. That's what you was talking about. Once they know you are dead, the lady already knows the title has not yet been changed. You come up with a story that I was asking your husband to check up something for me in the land's office. And if you go through your records, you'll find he still has a title. Oh, it's so unfortunate he has died before. Your money is?
Actually, she doesn't have to go for that. She just needs to declare the one she had lost. She doesn't need.
No, that's a better legal mind than mine. So can you see how foolish it was, what you did? So, and the last thing you need to hear is Christians do not agree with Machiavelli. Machiavelli says the end justifies the means. In Christianity, God is interested both in the means and the end. Even if you have a good end and use bad means, you still need to repent. Despite the fact that what you did, like helping that lady, 100%. So in heaven, you get credit, then with your credit, you go to hell. Because what you did was good, but you followed the wrong means. So I'm back on that issue. Because we are trying to wonder, why do people become opaque with the time? And again, I have three
it's
suggestions.
Not men alone, even women.
Yeah, by the way,
But
you are
the
right.
disease seems to be with men mostly.
No.
I'm just saying.
The person who has said has disagreed with you. She thinks even women are.
I didn't say that women are not. I'm just saying the
Men are worse.
seems to be more men.
Since none of us has done a proper academic research, let's agree both.
Can I share my experience?
Yes.
I'm much younger by any standards.
Yeah.
Even in marriage, I've only been married for 7 years, going to 8 years.
People here have been married 12, 15, 28.
So it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I've come to appreciate marriage a lot. One of the things I've learned in that short life is that you have to learn to be detached from property. Don't get so attached to your car, your house, your land, that it becomes so difficult. You have to decide which one should be in a name, which one should be, which one shouldn't be known. Because the problems you leave your spouses in when you die, God forbid, you cannot even begin to imagine.
And you are the cause.
And you're the cause. And this is where relatives who are not well-intentioned come in to start causing a lot of problems. So as a practice, in my marriage, there's nothing that we buy that is not in both names.
That's called wisdom.
It could be a car, it could be a generator, it could, whatever it is.
Anything that has a title.
Anything. And in most cases, we even put it in trust in our son's name. Not even for us. When he becomes 18, it belongs to him. Not even us. And I think what I've learned in that, and it makes life very easy, is not to be attached to property.
And in the process, you find it easier to share the information.
I find it very normal, and it shouldn't matter whether she's contributed more or I've contributed more. It's immaterial. As long as we are not married, the property belongs to both of you. But it's wiser to avoid leaving your spouse in problems to always just put it in both names. You lose nothing by putting it in both. As long as, and you talked about a very important currency in marriage, which is trust. When that is cultivated, there will be very little difficulty in having property.
Suspicion goes.
Yeah, or suspicion. What if I put it and it's transferred? You know, because that happens sometimes. Yeah, but if trust is cultivated and the intention of the marriage is appreciated, then really my philosophy is it cannot be that this belongs to you and the other belongs to the other person.
No, it's ours. Now I have to finish. So unfortunately, I have an appointment in Nairobi. I told somebody I'll be there by 2. Now it's clear I'll not make it. But what you are raising is very important. Number one, which I want to say, is that the Bible is clear. We have read it together. My brother read. He says the example of this relationship, the first relationship, which is supposed to set our relationships. And by the way, if you doubt that, go read book of Mark, chapter 10, and also repeated in Matthew. When Jesus was dealing with the issue of marriage, and they were saying, but what you are saying is not happening. He said it was not like that from the beginning. So that way, Jesus was saying, don't copy David. Don't copy Solomon. Go back to the beginning. And the beginning, he says, in a proper biblical relationship, you must be naked and show no shame. So you need to understand that that's the first thing I want to mention. The second thing is that you are taking a risk. Let's not beat about the bush. By being naked, you are taking a very serious risk. Like today, after 38 years of marriage, if my wife wanted to clean up me totally, since like you, everything we have, we own together. Any bank account, we own together. If she was unhappy with me, she can go and clear everything, then tell me to walk. And I have absolutely nothing to depend on. It's a very serious risk. So let's not do not think that I'm telling you to do it without awareness that you are actually taking a risk. But my third point is this: the moment your spouse sees the risk you are taking, it actually makes her trust you more. That's very interesting. I've said it before. Let me repeat. Vulnerability, the greater the vulnerability, the deeper the marriage. The less the vulnerability, the shallower the marriage. So once I realize you don't trust me, will I trust you also? No. So you'll still be married, but the quality and depth of your marriage go. So if you want a deep marriage, then you take a big risk. And in my wisdom, I tell my wife, I don't take a risk just because she is trustworthy. I take a risk because that's what God has asked me to do. So if she decides to wash me clean, I go back to God. God, you are the one to blame. You told me to be open. Look at what this woman has done to me. I'm in your hands. Is God incapable of looking after me?
No, it's not.
So that's where you go into it. You go into it not because your wife can never cheat on you, can never undo it, but because you trust in God. That's why a lot of what they have been discussing today is totally meaningless if you are not born again. The whole thing has to do with God. That's why I started by saying it's God who thinks about marriage. It's God's thing. So it's important to get into it. So I agree. Now I'm answering your question. The reason there is opaqueness is because people are backsliding. The reason you are able to do things behind your husband's back is because you are losing your touch with God. Remember I said the family relationship is a triangle, isn't it? Now, and in a triangle, if you can see my triangle in the air, God is there. You are here. If you are 3 kilometers apart in this triangle, the only way you can come close to each other is both of you to start going towards God. The nearer you are towards God, the closer is the distance between you. Am I communicating?
Yes.
So you see, real marriage problems are not real marriage problems. They are spiritual problems. Somehow, mine can annoy me so terribly until I go to prayer. And I realize how terrible I am, and God has forgiven me. And I realize I have no alternative than forgive her. Am I communicating? So you need to understand the real problem is how you are relating with God. When you relate well, your woman can be terrible, a total mess, and the marriage will still last. Because you are able to forgive her, you are able to take her to God, and believe that when you take her to God, God can handle her. The Bible says it's a dangerous thing to fall in the hands of the Most High God. So leave her with God at Anyorosha. You don't have to participate in the Nyoroshari. It says, revenge is mine, says the Lord. So when you have that concept, you can stay in a marriage relationship where one party is terrible and you are still able to deal with it because you are handing it over to God. That's what I wanted to say about it. So in my view, it is simply a spiritual problem. So and with that spiritual problem, you are not able to trust God. So if she might misuse the information, what will happen to her? So don't share. Can we pray together? Yes.